it's your turn to
Oh, is it for me?
consider yourself fired.
Why are you winking at me?
Consider yourself fired.
Hello, and welcome to the JT and Drew Show. I'm JT,
And I'm Drew.
and we're two nobodies talking about nothing.
Consider yourself fired.
Hey, buddy, welcome back. It's a
Yeah.
long time no see.
Oh my goodness, it has. It's been a busy holiday season, that's for sure.
You are not lying. How was the holidays, man, for you?
I think I'm just now catching up on my sleep.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, it was pretty good. You know, we went, got to spend some time with the wife's family, spent some time with my family, and the nieces, nephews, all that stuff, and finally getting some time to just relax at home and, you know, just enjoying it.
That's great, man. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad you got to see your nieces and nephews, man.
Yeah, it had been quite a while. They're still very full of energy.
Good.
But, you know, I find that visiting and seeing them in short amounts of time, short bursts or what have you, is great, because then I can give them back to my brother, and then he's got to deal with them.
Just load them up with sugar.
Sugar, coffee, I don't know. We're experimenting.
What was that story you were telling me earlier about the hot chip?
Oh, yes. So it might have been a couple years ago. My brother and I did the ghost pepper. We challenged each other and see who could last the longest. And
Okay.
That thing is very hot. Not going to downplay that at all. It makes like instant saliva. And it's not just like you're drooling. It's like somebody turned a faucet on and you've got puddles just coming out of your mouth.
Oh, God.
Well, this year he decided to buy. They make a ghost pepper chip. Looks like a Dorito, like a tortilla chip.
Oh, no.
So he bought little bags of these chips, and I still can't taste a whole lot right now from the COVID.
Right.
But
Still, huh?
still. But the flavor of these chips isn't that great, from what I could tell. But they are very hot as well. Not as hot as the pepper, straight up.
Okay.
But they still have their own level of spiciness.
Yeah.
Well, my stepdad seemed a little interested, and if he wasn't, I was trying to get him to be. And you know, gave him my experience, straightforward. Let him know, you know, yeah, they're hot, but they're not like stupid hot.
Okay.
So he took one, he ate it, and he's a pretty big dude. You know, he's, gosh, I don't know, maybe like 6 foot.
Oh, yeah.
Big, burly man, lumberjack, redhead, big CZ top beard almost.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely not
And,
definitely not a person that would say, you know, get away from me, Lucky Charms, but, you know, almost.
Right. Well, after eating this chip, he starts making a few funny grimaces or faces.
Uh-huh.
And I see him go to the kitchen, and he comes back with a glass of milk. And he must have done that 4 times or so.
Oh, my God.
And his face was about as red as his hair.
Oh.
And we all agreed the chip flavor, not very good.
Right.
You know, it's not tasty. But yes, very hot.
The intensity is pretty good. And did you give said bite to niece or nephew?
Well, if you know me, and for those of you that don't know me,
You should know
perhaps
him.
you're learning throughout this season or next that I'm all about building character. I think characters are really important.
Agreed.
And you know, this young lady, this niece of mine, she's what, 6 or 7.
It's a good age.
And I thought this was a great opportunity, a great mentor moment to help build some character. So I asked her if she would like a bite, and her daddy tried to convince her not to and not to trust me. I convinced her otherwise.
There you go.
And I don't know if she'll ever trust me again.
Hey, building character.
Yeah, exactly. She will hopefully forever remember that life lesson, whatever it is.
That's great, man. Oh, poor thing.
But how about you guys? What did y'all get into?
Oh, no, not much, man. We started the holidays off sick. My oldest got everybody sick just before the holidays, so the future in-laws brought everything over, and it's funny because we were getting everything ready to have a nice Christmas morning and all that.
Yeah.
And so things were kind of like moved around a little bit, and it was not the cleanest, but it wasn't like super dirty, but it wasn't the cleanest. And they just walked in. I was like, oh, hey, whoops. So.
Were you expecting them, or
no.
they just showed up?
Yeah, no, we were totally expecting to run over there in the morning and just kind of do like a Christmas thing, and then last minute plans happened and couldn't do it, and then of course we were actually getting sick, and so we just said the hoot with it. They brought everything over, and we still had our Christmas morning, which was great. It was wonderful. So,
well, good.
Got all the kids something, and just make sure that the kids called and said thank you, and
yeah,
and my grandparents, or my granddad and his wife, I had to meet them about halfway between here and the Metroplex, and to pick up the kids' stuff. Of course, they got them things for Christmas, and it was a great combobble on that. And as we were calling people to thanks, you find out that things happen in the family, and not everybody had a great Christmas, and you just you feel terrible. I'm not going to go into detail, but
sure.
No drama or anything, just things happen. But we recently just came back from a trip from my folks. We finally had our Christmas late, but we had our Christmas, and just an amazing time to spend with my brother. My brother was actually a lot more talkative than normal. And yeah, and so hung out with my dad and my mom and all that. And then we wake up the morning we're supposed to leave, and the baby just projectile vomits everywhere. And
I've seen videos like that, man.
Yeah, and it wasn't just once. It was probably four or five times.
Oh man!
And I'm sitting here trying to catch it, as it's coming out, because I'm like, don't get it on the bed, but there's nothing I can do. So, yeah, so we did that.
I forgot to tell you.
What's up?
Sorry, the projectile vomit made me think of it. I'm laying in bed.
Yeah.
I've got Luna in bed.
Oh no.
This is in the morning time. They've been outside, they're back inside.
Okay.
And she's kind of nestled up in my arm. The missus is taking a shower.
Uh-huh.
All of a sudden, my arm gets really warm really fast.
Oh, no.
So I'm like, oh, what is that? And Luna loves to be under the covers, so I had to pull back the covers and found vomit running down my arm.
Oh, no.
On the sheets. And it wasn't regular vomit. She had eaten poop.
Luna doesn't normally do that.
So this was poopy vomit. Oh. And from what I was told, because again, my sniffer ain't working so well these days.
Yeah.
It was demonic. So thank God for mattress covers.
And COVID.
Yes. But tell me why. So I took the sheet off and everything, I took it over to the tub because I was like, this needs to be rinsed before I wash it.
Yeah.
But tell me why I can't smell, but I'm still sitting there gagging, just looking at it.
Because it's all mental at that point.
Yeah, man. Oh,
it's all, yeah. So, so we get home, and we're thinking, oh, hey, the baby's got a bug. Come to find out, she can't have formula anymore. So that was it. That was the only thing. Because I was discussing it with my significant other, and we were trying to figure out what it is, what it isn't. Well, she apparently called the doctor today, and I didn't know. And they were like, yeah, she's not supposed to have formula anymore. She's supposed to have regular milk. Oh. Yeah, that would make sense. You know, of course, I have to go back through my time frames, and hey, listen.
Yeah.
11 years ago was that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I've had a couple of naps since then.
Well, hey, shout out to your brother. Noticed that he recently liked and subscribed to the show's Facebook page.
Did he really?
Yes, sir.
That salsa. You know, what the heck's wrong with him?
Yeah. I don't know if he's unsubscribed since then, but I just noticed recently that he's subscribed.
He'll probably unsubscribe here in a little bit. Well, that's great, though.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't hate him even more.
And for those of you listening...
Which I don't. That's a joke.
Be sure to become a fan of Elsie the Cow on Facebook. Borden Dutch Chocolate Milk.
Oh, my God. We are not sponsored by them.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Borden, if you're listening, I like your chocolate milk.
Oh, my gosh. This guy right here, he's a big Borden's chocolate milk drinker, especially when it comes to donuts.
Oh, yes, sir.
I'm telling you, man, you missed your calling. You should have been a cop.
Oh. Yeah, I almost was.
Oh, yeah, I know. We've had this discussion plenty of times.
Yep.
And, you know, it's getting past the beginner stage, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but hey, I actually had something I wanted to talk about. I know we just did this intro on catching up and whatnot, and it's really good to see your face.
Thank you.
I have a discussion that maybe or maybe not you might be into. I'm not 100%. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
But radios, and not AM, FM. I'm talking like the little walkie-talkies you get at Walmart, or
yes, radios.
CB radios, which, if you don't know what that is, that's Citizen Band Radio. That's what the truckers, on Bandit, Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah, CB used to be a pretty big thing.
Yeah, man, used to. And then there's another one called ham radio or amateur radio, that you need a license for. GMRS on the Walmart one, a little FRS GMRS radios. Technically, you're supposed to have a license for those, but a lot of people don't. So, but I wanted to know if you wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, let's dig into that. That's a very large topic.
Very large, but I think we can skim the top. I'm gonna just keep on topic for a little bit. So
yeah.
All right, man. Let's get into it.
Yep, let's do it. So, I guess what are the different categories? We can start with that, maybe.
So, I mean, so the three categories for me, and I would love to have a discussion with our listeners. If anyone has any more, gets in a little bit more detail than what we're fixing to get into. But you have your handheld walkie-talkies, which is FRS, GMRS. And then you would have your Citizen Band, which currently, as of this recording, I haven't seen them come out on FM yet, but they're supposed to. Most of it's AM. And then those go into like the upper and lower side bands. And then you have ham radio or amateur radio, which does like shortwave and long wave. And a really cool thing about that is moon bouncing, what some people do. And
now,
that's
real quick.
Hang on.
Moon
And what's really
bouncing.
hang on. When we get into ham radio, amateur radio, that's also where Morse code comes in, and that's a big selling point for that as well. You do not have to know Morse code now, but you can still get your license and then learn it and do it. Go ahead, moon bouncing. Let's go.
Yeah, that's really cool. I did see that somebody had mentioned that they could, well, maybe not moon bounce, but talk to the International Space Station with a GMRS radio.
I know the ISS has a ham radio on board, and they do talk to folks. I don't know about a GMRS one.
Yeah, that's what I read. Could be bad information, but I thought it was really neat.
Yeah, that is pretty neat, though.
So,
what's that in your hand?
So going back in time, do you really want to know? This is a Baofeng dual band FM transceiver.
What model?
This is the UV5R V2 Plus.
Oh, okay. So that's the 5R. That is a what kind of radio?
This is a ham radio.
Oh my gosh. That is amazing. So this was actually a pretty good topic to bring up.
It sure was.
Okay. Who got you into radios?
It's like my ears were burning on your head. I'd say here recently, you've really got me into it more so.
Oh, there you go.
You know, there's always been a little bit of interest, but yeah, getting into it, like getting into the weeds of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Understanding what you're doing, not just like you said in the beginning, like going to Walmart, pick up a set of walkie-talkies, and you know, having those for a camping trip or a road trip or whatever. Very basic, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. But
we've all done it, and I think that's kind of how a lot of us get into it.
Yeah, and being able to understand more of the behind-the-scenes stuff, how it actually works, I think is pretty neat, because then you can manipulate it more and get it to do what you're wanting to do.
Or you can manipulate what you want it. I'm sorry, what you can manipulate what you want to do in order for it to do what you want it to do.
Yes. Yep. So
you can't manipulate the radio. You just got to change your scenery.
Hey man, it's your world. I'm just living in it.
Don't tell Grandma.
Don't tease me with a good time. But yeah. So all that being said, what is, I guess, the difference between FRS and GMRS? Because you were mentioning you need a license.
Yeah, so, I mean, according to the FCC, you've got to have a license for the GMRS channels. So those little walkie-talkies that you get at Walmart and whatnot, there's two different types of channels. There's FRS, which is family channel. It stands for some of their acronyms.
It's like Family Radio Service or something.
Yeah. And then you have GMRS, which it stands for something. It's an acronym.
General Mobile Radio Service, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Thanks for Googling that. But with the FRS, and a lot of this may have changed, but I believe you can go, I think it's up to 2 watts on a call out. But with GMRS, you can go up to on a little handheld. And this is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like a mobile set. I'm not talking about anything like that, but just like a little handheld. It usually will go up to 5 watts. And, you know, you start talking about stuff like this and you can just see people's eyes glaze over. Like, what is this? And the way it was dumbed down to me, which it's not 100% because it all depends on the terrain and whatnot, but figure a watt as a mile. So if you have 5 watts, you can go up to 5 miles. If you've got 10 watts, you can go up to 10 miles. Which, again, that's not 100% accurate. But it's, you know, if somebody's trying to get into it and they're trying to understand how the electric components work, it's an easy way to remember it. Now, I have, and I think we've discussed this in previous podcasts. I don't know if it ever made it, but I have a CB, a Citizen Band Radio, in my vehicle that I drive. And I absolutely love it as far as the communication. So, like, on the way back from the Metroplex when we were coming back here, there was a really bad wreck on the highway, and the highway shut down. So I just flipped on my CB, did a little call out, which it's literally just, you know, you break into a conversation or you break into what's happening and just say, you speak normal English, like break, hey, does anybody know what's going on? Or you can just chime in, does anybody know what's going on here? And people on the radio are, some are nice, some are not. A lot of them are nice, but usually get some that aren't, which will kind of push you away from being on the radio. But there was a constant communication while the whole highway was backed up. How far is this? What exit are we getting off on? And everything. And myself and others would chime in. Hey, you're getting off here. You go down a little bit, or you can go through town. You know, be a little quicker and easier.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's
and it's like right then and there, people know.
Yeah, great way to communicate. Like you said, accidents, weather, road conditions.
Yes.
Any of that information.
And even if you don't communicate, you know, you could just listen in. You can just chime, or you can just listen as people talk. If you don't want to talk to anybody, you can just listen. But with most of these radios nowadays, they all have NOAA, and you can set your radio to like an alert. Where if you're going through somewhere and there's a weather alert that pops up, your radio, as long as it's on, will automatically flip over to NOAA and be like, hey, you need to be advised. And that you may either be behind the storm or in front of the storm, whenever you can take shelter if you're in front of it, or you can just kind of hold back and, hey, let me go to this rest stop or whatever and just kind of wait the storm to move up a little bit. Because lately, there's been really weird weather, especially in the southern portion of America, with tornadoes. Tornadoes in December. Like, that is completely insane. That's not a normal tornado season.
No, not at all.
And if you have the capabilities of picking up NOAA weather, you know, there you go. You are already ahead of the curve. Park your vehicle, pull up your phone, and track the weather.
Right, or even if you're in an area where you're not getting cell reception or it's spotty, you know, you can turn on your CB, and if it's picking up those waves, you know, you can get your NOAA alerts, or you can communicate with somebody else on the road, like you were saying. And I know sometimes when we're traveling to visit the wife's family, there are short areas on the road there where cell signal drops to nothing.
Oh, yeah.
But I've been able to communicate through the CB, you know? So, I mean, it's neat to have both. You know, some people may make the argument, well, we have cell phones, we don't need that now. Okay, but, you know, they do come in handy when your cell phones aren't usable.
Right. Or, like, when I go drop the kids off to go see their mom. I mean, it's been a while since I've done this, but if I'm going from here towards the San Antonio area, say, or Houston, there's a huge amount of area where I have no cell service. And my only communication is if anyone has a CB. You know? And a lot of times in between those little country roads that you get before you get to the highways, nobody's got one.
Yeah.
So
every now and then you'll get somebody who has a base station.
Oh, yeah. See? And that's another C. And all I'm sitting here for GMRS, I'm talking about walkie-talkies. CB, I'm just the mobile stuff that you throw in your truck or your car. I've had a CB radio in every single vehicle I've ever owned.
Yeah.
And the radio itself is $40 at Walmart. And if they don't have it on the shelf, you can order it and they'll get it to you. And start with that. It's the name brand is Cobra. It's a really good radio for what it is. They've got the little $15 antennas that you can stick through your trunk, and you can hook it up to your vehicle. And
well, so you can still do the magnetic mount too.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The magnetic on your trunk.
Oh yeah.
And just kind of go up, because that's how I always had it set up. Now, digging into it even more than what I was doing when I was like, oh hey, I'll just have a CB.
Yeah.
Tuning your antenna. I didn't even know that was a thing until more recently.
Well, I remember when I got my first setup there, and we were doing range tests and whatnot just to kind of see in the city. Yep, you and me.
Oh, yeah.
And I had my Walmart magnetic mount antenna, my little Cobra 19 radio in my car. And I think we had hit, at one point, like up to 18, 19 miles, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
just with that little setup. It wasn't anything stupid crazy. Oh, I spent several $100s or anything. I think all in all, it was about 55, maybe $60.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't.
It's not a bad thing at all.
Not a bad thing.
Moving back into the FRS, GMRS, like you were saying, the FRS channels, or not channels necessarily, but the FRS radios are built in a way where they're very limited, right? So maybe they don't let you modify the radio so much. So then you're not getting as much power and all that kind of thing. So you're getting the 2 watts, like you were saying. So, I mean, it's still a good radio if you're going camping or, I mean, you and your partner or you and your party, whatever, aren't going to be that far from each other. They're going to come in handy. They're going to be great.
They sure will.
The GMRS, you can modify a little bit more, but yeah, standardly, they're only going to be putting out about 5 watts.
Yep. So instead of, getting a half mile, maybe you're going to get, depending on the terrain.
Yeah.
They say on the box, go up to 36 miles. Yeah, if you're in Arizona and it's flat, or if you're in Kansas and somebody's on one hill and the other person's on the other and there's nothing but crops in between you, yeah, okay, yeah, maybe. But if you're in the woods or you're in a national park and you've got mountains and you've got this, okay, you're probably only going to get a mile, 2 miles, maybe on a GMRS.
Right. Or even in the city, or in a neighborhood or...
Exactly. What I think radios, I don't know if they're really coming back. I think people have piqued interests in them.
Sure.
I don't think a lot of people are pulling the triggers, but I think radios are just a really good way to just keep communication up and going. I know we've referenced this before, but snowpocalypse, if the power grid goes down and you don't have cell towers, because I remember here I didn't have cell towers. I still had the capability of making a phone call if I needed to. Right. But it was very choppy. So
well, and not to mention, in that same kind of scenario, if you get a radio and you practice, you get familiar with it, you're comfortable using it, you don't know if there's other people in your community that are also on the radios, and you can start kind of making those connections, friendships, whatever you want to call them. I know when we were doing CB out here, we were doing that initially, and there was a small group of people that we could talk to regularly, or we'd hear them on the radio, and you make those connections, and who knows what can come of that. Maybe you need a favor one day, or they need a favor, or they have information that they're able to share, or whatever the case, but you have those people in your community that you establish some kind of relationship with that you could lean on if you needed it.
Yeah. And what's really nice is when the stores didn't have anything, like toilet paper, you'd hop on the CB and those guys on that channel would be like, hey, I just got it out of, I don't know, HEB or United or, Market Street Albertsons or whatever. And they say they just got some in, and you would see the parking lot full of just whips, just antennas on top of trucks or cars. And, if you didn't have that line of communication, you wouldn't know. Again, you get one and you can talk or you don't have to talk, but just listen. And
Right. And some people I've seen, they'll get radios, handhelds, and they'll hook them up to be kind of like a little base station in their house. Modify the antenna or what have you so that it can pick up, receive better, but they won't necessarily use them to transmit. They're just, like you said, just listening.
yeah,
Whether they're listening to their local fire department or police department or local, if the city has like an emergency preparedness channel or whatever the case, just to get that information and be aware.
exactly. Yeah. And I know your city does, but mine does not. In the topic of radios, we've covered 2 and we've nerded out on 2.
Yeah.
So, but
I would like to plug real quick.
yeah,
Throw a plug out there for the for anybody that's interested. We just picked up a couple of anybody that's interested in GMRS. We just picked up a couple of Baofeng UV5G radios, which are their strictly GMRS radios.
yes,
So, again, you do need a license, according to the FCC, but it isn't going to get you in any trouble necessarily. Oops, I pushed the button and I'm talking on a ham frequency, and I'm not supposed to be. These radios will only transmit over the GMRS channels.
correct.
So you can
Now-
program them still and listen in on the other ones. But I know we're pretty excited to try them out, and maybe in a few weeks here, we can do a little quick review or what have you. What has our experience been with them?
Yeah, I'd
But,
like to see if we can hit some repeaters.
Ooh, yeah, that's another good quick thing we can dive into.
Repeaters?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, repeaters are great. And so if you're ever driving on the highway or on the road or anything and you see those big cell towers or whatnot, usually a ham or a GMRS guy or town, whoever is running it, may throw a little antenna up there and push out a repeater. A lot of repeaters are private, so you have to get a hold of the person that's got it. But some of them aren't. Some of them are a public one. And you can key in the radio frequency that repeater's on, and you can cue it, which just means you just hit that push to talk button. You can cue it up and see if you can hit it. I think for us, there's one 45 miles to the east. You and I are going to try and...
yeah,
because that one's a private one. There's one in my town, which we got to get a hold of that guy. All the ones around here are all private. So we have to communicate. We have to, email or call or, however they have their communication set up, and just say, hey, we'd like to hit it, just to see if we can hit it, and maybe we could possibly get them to, hey, can we use your repeater so we can talk on it? And a repeater, go ahead.
No, you were diving right into it.
Okay, well, I was going to say a repeater is just a box that just displays a radio frequency that is attached to an antenna that it's what it says. It's a repeater. It just, you talk to the repeater and then the repeater literally repeats what you said, but it'll go out to 100 miles or 200 miles, depending on how many watts it is.
So instead of talking radio to radio, you're talking to the repeater sends out your message, the other radio can receive it.
Correct.
And then they can transmit back to the repeater. It'll send the message out and you can receive it.
Exactly. Now, again, with the radio, it's not like, it's a private conversation. So you've got to watch what you say, because people are just tuned into those repeaters just to make sure nobody's doing anything illegal on them.
Right. But it's pretty cool, and the idea that, you can take a radio that may be in the city or the woods, like you were saying, you might be able to transmit from radio to radio about a mile.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you're hitting these repeaters, you might be able to talk 50, 60, 90, 100, who knows how many miles, depending on the, the weather conditions, the terrain, all that stuff.
Right.
But being able to hit that tower, hit that antenna, and then have that message go out to whoever on the other end. That's just neat to me.
Oh, it is. And, you know, in this we can segue into the next radio topic, which would be amateur and ham radios. These guys hit repeaters all the time. There's ham or amateur radio repeaters everywhere, all across the country. And what's really cool about it is amateur radio is now diving into the digital world. When I say it's now, they've been doing it for 5 years, 10 years, something like that. But there was, and you can YouTube it, there was a guy in California who was talking to another guy in New York State. I don't know if he was in the city or if he was in the state. But just pinging off of these digital tower repeaters, they literally could have a communication. Now, you and me are going to understand this, but it was just like the MWR phone calls that you used to get out in deployments. So you would talk, and then you'd wait a few seconds.
Yeah.
And then you'd hear the response, and then you had to... So it's not like a, hey, how's it going? Oh, good, how are you? It's not that conversation. It's, hey, how's it going? Yeah, we're doing good over here. Oh, okay, great. That's good to hear from you.
Yeah. But still, and again, to reiterate, yes, you know, cell phones, we can do all this stuff now. I could call New York from where I'm at, or California, or whoever. But in the event, whether it's due to natural disaster, just crazy weather conditions, terrorist attack, anything, those cell towers go down, or you're in an area where you can't because you don't have the coverage or whatever, these are other means to communicate.
Communicate with the outside world, with outside of, you know, your four walls that you have.
Mm-hmm. There have been times I read about where, and I'm not recommending or not recommending, but there have been times where folks that have had the radios, whether it's GMRS or ham, and they've been listening to emergency broadcasts or police or fire, and maybe they pick up something that's close to them, and they've been able to chime in and help out the local authorities. Yeah. And let them know, oh, hey, you know, I saw what you're looking for and went that way, or whatever the case is, and they were able to help them, you know, get whatever they needed to get done.
Exactly. And that, yeah, and you can do that. One of the nice things, I guess, about walkie-talkie or radio communication or whatever, for all of it, I mean, this is everything that requires a license, so GMRS and amateur. If you are in an emergency situation, it does not matter if natural disaster, human disaster, whatever it is, if you are in an emergency situation and you do not have a cell phone, or there's no cell service, or there's no power, no whatever, and you can click into like these communication towers, repeater towers, or if it's just a radio to radio communication, whether you have a license or not, you can push to talk, break the communication up, and say, I have an emergency, this is what's going on. And I guarantee you 99.9% of the time, those radio guys are going to be right there to help you, license or not. They're not going to ask for your call sign if you say this is an emergency, because these guys have plans in place to communicate with people who don't have license, who may just have the radio and, oh, okay, I understand radio lingo, but I've never done it before, so, you know, or I've never touched a radio in my entire life, and I don't really know what I'm doing, but I just got to keep hitting this button and somebody will hear me.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, they have the scenarios for all this stuff that happens. So, used to back in the day, which is what I really wanted to get into, but they don't have it anymore, is what was that? Not Red Cross. Was it Red Cross? I think it was Red Cross. used to have teams of ham radios guys that would go out to the natural, like if you got hit by a tornado or if you got hit with a hurricane like Katrina. Katrina was a really big one, where these ham guys would go out just after the storm would pass, and they would set up their mobile towers, and they would just, hey, we need help over here. Hey, this over here needs help. Hey, this over. And those are the behind the scene guys. They don't get any glory.
Yeah, people don't realize, how important being able to communicate is until you lose the accessibility to it.
Yep. So, and there's, again, you can Google it. There's radio communications from ham radio guys that stayed during Katrina. I think it was in New Orleans, and I think it's like an hour video, but they go through every segment of what ham radios were doing for the communities. And one of them really stuck out to me, which was the ham guys were calling the police on the ham radios and saying, you need to get over to this place because these people are breaking into this hospital.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that one was pretty good. I think it's like a 15-minute segment of that whole hour, but just to, nope, the glass is breaking. Oh, this is happening. This is happening. They're communicating. And they're like, okay, we've got troopers 5 minutes out or whatever. Yeah. And these guys are just communicating what's happening to the police station in real time.
Yeah, I would say, or I would recommend anybody that's interested, do your research, obviously. Figure out what you want to get. Educate yourself. Look at the licensing requirements. Look at the lingo. Look at the just everything and anything. There's tons and tons of information out there. Forums, websites. There's no shortage of information on FRS, GMRS, ham. There's even MERS, which everything the vibes that I've gotten from that is just kind of like, yeah, whatever. They're like the redheaded stepchild.
Yeah.
But there's all kinds of information out there. CB, all that. Yes. Do your research on it. See if it's something you're interested in. If you are, I would highly recommend just go for it. Again, there's really, really cheap intro ways to get into it without, breaking the bank or, making a huge commitment or what have you. And even Google, see if there's any folks in your community or clubs or whatever that you might get into or talk to or pick people's brains or send us an email or whatever. We'd be more than happy to share with you or talk to you or take questions or, whatever we can do.
Yeah, or help you with your research and, which rabbit hole to go down and which one not to.
Yeah.
So it's fun, it's expensive, and if stuff like that interests you, it's really super addicting.
Well, yeah, I would say it can get expensive over time, sure.
Yeah, sure can.
Entry level,
not too bad.
Yeah, you really shouldn't be spending more, like we already touched on the topic for CBs, like $30-$40. These ones that we just bought for the GMRS, they're about $30 a piece. So, it can be pretty inexpensive if you're just wanting to get your feet wet.
Yep.
Nothing out there says that, well, in order to, go 300 miles or 100 miles longer, whatever, you need to spend $1,000 on a radio or $500 or this or that. No.
Yeah.
You don't need to do any of that.
Nope. It can be just as expensive as you want it to be.
Yep.
But people are going to tell you, hey, this brand works better than this brand. Yaesu is better than Pioneer or, whoever. And make your own assessment, whatever works.
Yep.
For us, Baofeng, because we're dipping our toes in, is the way we want to go right now.
Yeah, we're dipping our toes in. We've done a buttload of research, and there's so many accessories already in that market, And you've had some previous experience with Baofeng, so...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've got, I've had 3 Baofeng radios, 2 of the U5Rs, and I have a HP 8P. And, what was really cool for me when I was first stepping in and I only had the one U5R, there were some bad storms in our area, really bad storms. And there was these guys, I'm listening to the amateur radio frequencies, and they're in a town about 20 miles north of us, or I don't remember. They weren't that far away. And they're in a mobile unit, and they're talking back to NOAA, which is a town 90 miles south of where we're at now. So the main headquarters. So they're 20 miles north of me, talking to a town 90 miles south of me, and everybody's they're all hitting the repeater towers, so just so they could get that distance.
Yeah.
But what had happened is a little tornado kind of came through this little town. Not a big one. I think it was an EF0 or whatever, but it was, still a tornado. And I guess they were new to it, kind of like, oh, hey, we got our license, we've got our certifications for this, we're going to try it out, we're on call. So they're going out and they're calling back to NOAA, hey, this is what's going on in this town. And all of a sudden you just hear, oh no, please don't.
Oh,
and
man.
I was like, oh no, what happened? Well, a tree had went through the windshield. And so you heard the glass break, and these guys were scared. So, but then they composed themselves, got back on the radio, and communicated that back through to NOAA. And I not kid you, 2 minutes later, it's on the news, because I'm watching the news at the same time.
Oh, wow.
So I was getting what was happening in that small town, and then the meteorologist came on the news saying, hey, we just had a twister go through this town here. And so just make sure that you're, hunkering down and whatever.
Yeah, they were able to relay that vital information.
Yes, yeah. And there was, and I'm not kidding you, and you're going to laugh at this, but NOAA did come back with radio discipline.
No way.
Yeah. Radio discipline. Yeah.
Radio discipline, even in the middle of a tornado.
Yeah, well, when glass is shattering and all that, you still got to have your composure.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, but I believe the only reason they said radio discipline is because they were cussing. So. Oh,
okay. Well,
But I think for me, like storm chasing, that would be really super cool.
Oh,
I would be the communications guy on that.
Yeah, I think that would be very interesting.
So, but that's just me. Anywho, well, great topic. I know we nerded out for a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, still we just barely scratched the surface on all this stuff. Again, if you're interested, there's tons of information out there.
Give us a shout.
Please, let us know. Research it. We'll research it, whatever.
Yeah.
But I know we're very excited to kind of teach ourselves and get a little bit deeper into this world and whatnot, this world of communications.
Exactly. Yeah. And if we hear you out there, we'll definitely give you a shout out.
Yeah.
As always, we'd like to say thank you for stopping by and listening to the podcast.
Yeah, we realized that you could have been doing anything way more productive, but you chose to waste your time with us.
We look forward to talking about absolutely nothing with you next time.
If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, please email us at
jtandrewshow@gmail.com or visit our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/JTDrewShow.